Good evening, everyone. Fantastic to see so many people here tonight. My name is Christina, and I'm here from an organisation called Treesponsibility. Now, hopefully, some of you have heard of us because we have been around for 23 years. So what is Treesponsibility? So we're just a not-for-profit community group that was set up by our lovely founder, used to be known as Penny, later became Dongria, who you may have heard of. It was set up in 1998 to educate and campaign about the need for action on climate change. Anyway, the idea was that Treesponsibility would create the opportunity for people to come out and take the positive step of planting a tree, and through that be inspired to take further steps towards reducing their carbon footprint. But a couple of years later, that aim evolved to embrace adapting to climate change because, it was apparent that climate change was already affecting our valley. And our founder, Dongria, she was very much aware of this, that the climate change scenario for our valley was there would be more frequent heavy rainfall events leading to flooding. In 2000, in June, the 4th of June 2000, there was a flood. Now, I think of this as the first climate change flood, although it wasn't really spoken of that at the time. Treesponsibility had just published a book, and that book was on pallets at the printers, and the floodwaters entered the printers, but luckily it stopped just below the level of where the books were stacked. So the books survived. Anyway, Dongria, or Penny as she was then, she was always on the money, she was ahead of the curve, and she knew that there was evidence that, there were reports had been produced that trees can help to mitigate flood risk. And so Treesponsibility then launched the project. After the flood, the forest, they were able to obtain, I think it was a 3, or maybe it was 5 hectare site on the Baycup Roads near the observatory. It was a very, very steep bank, it's about 45 degrees, very badly eroded land. And Treesponsibility planted 3,000 trees there. They also did work to geobind the bare shale. It took a long time for that site to be established, but now it does look like a woodland. So there are 5 main ways in which trees help to mitigate the flood risk. Now, first of all, trees are about 70% water. So where you've got trees, the trees will be, well, when they're in leaf, they're constantly taking water out of the ground, and that water's transpiring through their leaves. So that is a constant movement of water. And so that's creating more space in the ground for stormwater to be absorbed. And then the leaves will, when the trees are in leaf, they'll intercept about 30% of that rainfall, and so that rain will never hit the ground, it will just evaporate back into the atmosphere. And trees, they can also help to stabilise our steep valley sides. They have to be the right sort of trees. Unfortunately, not all the trees we have in our valley are the right sort of trees, and I'm talking about beech trees, which is just beautiful, in the right place. But unfortunately, you may have noticed this, that they're shallow rooted, which means that they can actually contribute to erosion and instead of stabilising hillsides. But deep-rooted trees like our ancient native oaks, they will help to stabilise the hillsides. Trees will help to build the soil as well, because as they go through their yearly cycle and they drop their leaves in the autumn and the winter, then that leaves, as they decompose, help to build the soil. And again, there's more capacity for the soil to absorb stormwater. Perhaps one of the most important things that they do, which is as their roots go down into the soil, through the compacted topsoil and the dense clay subsoils, they will help to create a system of pores which will allow the movement of water through the soil, so it allows penetration of water instead of it running off. So those are the main ways in which trees help to mitigate the flood risks. And when Sally spoke at the beginning, she was talking about evidence. And yes, that's very, very important. And there are more studies being produced all the time. One produced recently saying that they make a difference after 15 years from being planted. And then I heard something recently that it could actually be as little as 2 years. And I was very lucky recently that back in the summer a student got in touch with me and he wanted to demonstrate that this theory works, and I was able to take him to a site that Treesponsibility planted back in 2006, so that's 15 years ago. And so he came along and he did his experiments, and I've just heard recently that he's working on collating his evidence, and as soon as his report's ready, he's going to send me a copy, so I shall put that on our website, so I'm very excited about that. Now, Treesponsibility doesn't own any land, so we are entirely dependent on landowners coming forward to offer land for tree planting. And luckily, over the years, that's what's happened. Yeah, a steady trickle of landowners coming forward. So, if you're a landowner, if you know any landowners who are interested in having trees planted or think you might be interested, then get in touch. You can see me at my table and I can give you our contact details. And so you can ring me or you can email me, and I'm usually very prompt at responding to emails. And then I'll organise for myself and my colleagues to come and visit you and look at your land and discuss possibilities with you. And then we'll draw up a plan for you to look at and then approve. And once approved, your land will go into the process. I mean, it can be a long process. One of the reasons for that is that we actually have a lot of special habitats in Calderdale that are very good sort of like landscape features in their own right. Like we've got some, ancient meadows full of ancient, very diverse species, meadow species. So, or they might have wax-cap fungi, and if they've got wax-cap fungi, then that shows that the soil is actually in very good health, and it does have a system of, these stable macropores that allow the penetration of water. So the first thing that will happen is that your land will have to be surveyed, and then only after that, if it's proved not to be anything special in that way, will we gets the go-ahead to come and plant the trees. Now, at the moment, luckily, there is a lot of funding available for tree planting, and you don't have to do the fundraising, the form filling. We'll do all that for you. We'd like to make the process as simple as possible for the landowner, because we're interested in doing absolutely the best we can to get those trees in the ground. I don't think I've really got a lot more to say. I think that's that's all the points that are important for you here tonight. So if you want to come and talk to me after, I shall be there, and I shall be very, very happy to talk to you. So thank you for listening.